Welcome to our Reconceptualising Early Childhood Assignment 2 presentation. Our chosen topic is Families' Role in Education.
Hi, my name is McDonald and I am in my third year of university studying my Bachelor of Early Childhood Education. I am currently doing uni external as I am a mother to 2 young daughters and I also work.
Hi everyone, my name is Alicia Leonard and I'm from Port Lincoln in South Australia.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Hunter and I'm currently in my third year of Bachelor of Education Early Childhood. I'm studying completely externally located in Melbourne, Victoria. I work 3 days a week as a lead educator in a kindergarten and spend the rest of my time studying.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Francis and I live on Kangaroo Island. I'm currently completing my early childhood degree completely externally and I hope you enjoy our presentation.
During this presentation, we will discuss what the issues are surrounding the family's role in education and why this is important. We will begin with a look at the history of the issue and some background information that will paint a picture of how families' role in education has evolved. Identifying different views through national and international literature will provide further information before we identify the different types of family involvement. We will discuss the challenges that students, families and teachers face before discussing the views and perspectives of different theorists relating to this issue. Finally, we will discuss strategies and recommendations looking into the future as upcoming teachers working with students and their families.
There are many issues surrounding families and their role in education, and depending on who you speak to, some families mention that they do not feel welcome, supported or a part of their children's schooling, whereas others feel there is a strong collaboration between all involved. There are also views that parents and families should not have to work collaboratively with teachers because teaching is the teacher's job. Teachers, on the other hand, find working collaboratively with parents a supportive and successful way of helping the child develop and achieve success at school and within their community.
Background information, history. Involving families by finding out where they come from and by reflecting and sharing their interests and culture backgrounds within programs allows families to feel a sense of belonging in their school community as well as supports students. Understand the child and their family. Involve them in our programs and curriculums. Knowledge from them plus our knowledge together means we can build our own new knowledges. Seth argues that there is a false image of westernized people as being advanced and others as the uncivilized and unknowledgeable individuals. Whilst more detrimental aspects of this can be seen throughout Australian history, educators who see themselves in power roles and holding all the knowledge run the risk of reintroducing similar aspects into a classroom, making families feel as though they do not belong or their opinions do not matter. When looking on a wider spread, others could be simply seen as a normal family and the westernized as the educator who knows everything.
Throughout our research, we found the most relevant national and international stance within literature in relation to families in education are as follows. Ryan and Grisheva suggests valuing and embracing parents as the first and foremost educators of their children, as they obviously hold intimate understandings about their child. This enables us as educators to capture the view and interests of the child's unique lived experiences, to embrace their funds of knowledge and to modify the curriculum within a shared, equitable learning environment. Steiner seeks to uphold and promote children and families' dignity in an environment free from judgment, to foster an authentic sense of belonging within a shared learning community. A balanced, collaborative approach where educators and families educate with love, sending all children forth on their individual learning journeys. Family involvement in their children's education is a natural resource that is extremely important to support children's learning and academic success. It is suggested that family involvement supports students and their literacy skills, school attendance, behaviour and school completion, and is also fundamental to student wellbeing. It is quite easy to get sidelined by the view that the only family involvement is solely school contact. However, this viewpoint cannot define family involvement in any way, because there are then opportunities that enable us to miss or not notice other avenues that families contribute to their children's learning. Imposing a cultural definition of family involvement that is in fact unsuitable upon us and our colleagues can also result in further alienation of the families which we are trying to include within the learning environment.
Manns et al. Suggest that there are 5 core common ways that families are involved within their child's education and learning community. Volunteering allows parents or caregivers to have some sort of physical involvement in the learning environment or the community through school excursions, reading groups, other learning activities, and school events. This type of involvement is often the most recognisable. Decision-making refers to the discussions and participation towards family-orientated organisations that allow collaboration to occur between families and their child's teacher. For example, parent-teacher organisation. The parenting and learning aspects of family involvement refer to the family responsibilities in the home environment and within the community. For example, health and nutrition, well-being, community activities and sleep needs, which all have an impact on student curiosity, cognitive development, participation and achievement. The final element of family involvement is that of homeschool communication, which is probably also considered another major form of involvement. This element encompasses communication, which creates some kind of dialogue between the family, teacher and the school, and can include communication books, phone calls, apps, emails, etc.
For our first task, we ask you to reflect on your previous professional experience or your time working and volunteering. What types of positive or negative family involvement have you witnessed, and how were these incorporated by the teacher? Can you remember how the families responded to these types of involvements? We've included a list of categories that may assist you with this task.
Challenges for students, teachers and families. Developmental discourses of children's education and development largely constructs from colonial and westernized viewpoints are still impacting upon Aboriginal Australians and their families in education today. Aboriginal Australians are humanity's oldest civilization with knowledges that have been around for 80,000 years. Therefore, our image of the Australian child and their family needs to be a strengths-based approach. When teaching Aboriginal children, we must value them for their families' rich cultures, knowledge, histories, communities and creativities, to protect and uphold the dignity of the child and their families. Three-way pedagogical approaches surround relationships between student, educator and family knowledges are essential to overcoming superiority politics and colonial power of majority equaling truth and knowledge. Theorists highlight the sense of urgency to bring together these funds of knowledge to create rich pedagogical languages, cultures, curriculum and environments for children and families to learn, embrace and share their histories and identities.
As our group engage with contemporary theorists and perspectives through multiple lenses, we hope to become powerful agents to advocate for the needs of the child and their families. As future educators of global, multicultural and diverse students, our challenge is to move away from simply engaging with monocultural developmental perspectives. We must aim to draw from a rich variety of theories, unpacking their histories, strengths and challenges to vary our pedagogical approaches, and collaborate effectively with families who will bring with them such unique, rich and valuable funds of knowledge, their own experiences and ways of thinking and learning. Drawing from theories that represent diverse multicultural societies will support us recognise and value each child's cultural capital to incorporate popular culture, histories and diverse communities within our curriculum.
Paulo Freire of the 19th century questioned the concept of education and the role of the educator, through which children were viewed as empty accounts to be filled by the teacher. Our goal, to work in a cohesive and collaborative partnership with families, is to view the image of the child as a whole, to find out about each child from a variety of sources, and ensure we create an inspiring and welcoming learning environment where all feel valued and safe and empowered to go forth on their learning journeys. Vygotsky's belief that children and families experience the same situation differently should be at the forefront of our planning and modification of the teaching and learning cycle. From a critical perspective, no universal truth or set of laws or principles can be applied to everyone.
Amber Dare highlight that if we take the time to listen and make authentic connections with children and families, we can work in partnership to unpack and identify funds of knowledge to better understand who their child is from a variety of sources and contextual settings. Drawing from Baudelaire's perspective and concepts of habitus, we bring our own ideas and temperaments to social contexts. Therefore, we can explore how to respond to individual children and their families' needs from a post-structuralist view. Sisson highlights the importance of ongoing self-reflective natures that constantly challenge and surface any unknown biases from our histories and previous life situations to avoid replicating negative experiences with children and families. Our attitudes as teachers and thus our responses and engagements with families are constructed from our own cultural dispositions and identities. We must shift away from relying solely on developmental and long-standing European perspectives and be challenged by Foucault's post-constructivist perspective that there are many forms of truth and no absolute truth. Baudelaires' concept on capital involving the way in which humans exchange knowledge, friendships and communication should be balanced, equitable and fair when establishing and maintaining classroom culture and a positive and welcome learning space for families. Therefore, as educators, we can only implement Baudelaire and Foucault's viewpoints if we take the time to listen to and make authentic connections with children and families.
Post-humanist perspective. Acknowledging how humans relate to humans and humans relate to the world and environment will support us establish positive relationships while utilising and embracing the environment as third teacher to foster a sense of belonging and becoming for children and families. Different places are continuously teaching us something. Consequently, the classroom environment we establish becomes a powerful agent acting as third teacher to support teacher, child and family go through the learning processes together, intertwined with an entangled relationship in the moment to sense belonging and becoming. Focusing on the nature of knowledge and the ontological view of being, we are challenged by Deleuze's viewpoint on the process of building relationships with humans, materials, spaces, and the environment. Aligning human, environment, and world in an interconnected relationship fosters agency and change, focusing our attention on relationships and connectedness, not differences. Valuing and listening to child voice and culture context will enable us as educators to establish a dynamic learning community where families feel empowered to share their ideas and work in partnership, assuring their child's education and creativity flourishes. We can only support children develop resilience and creativity when we focus on the child's competencies and strengths. Therefore, we must strive to make deep connections to family and their communities, which will evolve over time alongside child's interests, materials, pedagogies, and connections to community. Embracing an epistemological perspective of multiple ways of thinking and doing is thus co-constructed between child, family, educator, and the environment.
The post-colonial perspective. Reflecting upon our own and our parents' learning of Aboriginal history as children, some of our knowledges and understandings were constructed solely from a colonial perspective. Some of the information we received from teachers was unfortunately misleading, misrepresented, racist, and offensive towards Aboriginal people. Often we were not shown the traditional Aboriginal people's map, which according to Said's Orientalism perspective highlights that educators were only sharing knowledge of the dominant. Engaging with Frere's post-colonial perspective, a power imbalance within our educational institutions was enabled through monocultural knowledges, histories, and practices. As a group, we're going to ask you to pause for a moment and reflect upon this question. During your own schooling experience or whilst on prac or at work, have you ever noticed the map of the Indigenous Australians on display in the classroom? If so, reflect on how this was used in the classroom. If not, reflect on why this may not have been included within the learning environment and how you as a future educator could incorporate this map.
Visit the following website and watch the video titled Building Relationships with Families. After you have watched the video, read the accompanying information on the webpage, then answer the following questions. Can you think back to a time when you were part of a new group or organisation? What did others do to make you feel welcome? Would you use some of these strategies in your classroom or centre? Why? Why not? How would you develop relationships with families in your classroom? How would you know if a family felt included in your classroom or school?
A quote from Bassini, Ketchabor and Pence is that leaders of the Reconceptualist movement argue that reality does not exist independent of the knower and the process of knowing. It is essential to acknowledge the importance of context and value when making decisions. This movement suggests that validity has many truths within context of race, class, gender, sexuality, nationalism, and age sensitivity. The Reconceptualist movement views language as a discursive system of socially constructed signs and meaning-filled practice rather than what might be referred to as a modern instrument for delivering reality. Recognizing this discursive nature of language, we could investigate the terms young children and early childhood and how these words construct and build meaning for us as educators, meaning that could then limit what we plan and implement as teachers.
Where to next? Valuing each and every child and family as a whole and not stereotyping by ethnicity, gender, cultural backgrounds, or abilities is key to knowing and working alongside diversity. Developing authentic relationships with children, family, and their wider communities helps shape our child's identity, attitude, and well-being. Being reflective in our daily practice and questioning our own morals, values, and beliefs. Identifying and accepting all of the different involvement methods that families have in schools and community environments. Common themes in relation to families in education surface upon reflection and engagement with contemporary perspectives, these being relationships, embracing children's funds of knowledge in all that we do, and upholding and defending the rights of the child to work in collaboration with their families to foster a sense of belonging and becoming. Postmodernist perspectives support educators reflect upon pedagogical approaches and child development through multiple perspectives. Learning, therefore, must be co-constructed so child, family, teacher, and environment work in partnership to understand and embrace one another's rights, interests, history, and fund of knowledge. To close the gap between what we know and what we do and why we do it, we must continually unpack the histories, strengths, and limitations of theories to better understand ourselves as educators and the children and families we are privileged to work alongside. A commitment to self-reflective practice will support us continually critically reflect and modify our pedagogical responses, drawing from various theorists to best meet the needs of individual children, families, communities, and the environment. This will also enable us to surface potential Eurocentric points of view, identifying hidden agendas tied to particular knowledges, and unpacking who may be helped, hurt, privileged, or disadvantaged by implementing such theories and perspectives within our learning communities. Teaching and learning is not about power or filling students up with our knowledges and ways of thinking and learning. Teaching is about working alongside children and families, working together and learning from each other's diverse backgrounds and life experiences. Task 3. For the third and final task, click the link below to have a go at our online quiz. Have fun and good luck. Thank you.